The moon does not expand as it rises. It does not surge closer to Earth when it touches the horizon. It does not inflate like a silent balloon against the skyline, and yet it feels enormous. When it hovers low over distant hills or city buildings, it can appear so large that it feels almost artificial, like a projection placed deliberately into the landscape. People pause when they see it. They question it. They assume something astronomical must be happening. But nothing astronomical is happening at all. The moon's orbit is stable. Its diameter is fixed. Its distance changes only gradually over the course of a month as it moves between perigee and apogee. Whether it is on the horizon or high overhead, its angular size remains almost constant, about half a degree across. That consistency can be measured. But perception does not care about measurement alone. The illusion has been documented for millennia. Aristotle described it in antiquity, long before telescopes or modern optics. Over the centuries, thinkers tried to explain it using the tools available to them. Some argued that the atmosphere must magnify the moon like a lens. Others proposed that moisture near the horizon altered its apparent size. Those explanations are intuitive but incorrect. Atmospheric refraction bends light slightly, especially near the horizon, but it does not enlarge the moon. In fact, refraction subtly compresses it vertically, which is why the rising moon can appear slightly flattened at the bottom. If you photograph the moon at the horizon, and again when it is overhead, using the same focal length and scale, the size in the image remains virtually unchanged. Cameras are immune to the illusion. Human brains are not. The most widely accepted explanation is rooted in how we perceive distance. The human mind does not interpret the sky as a perfect hemisphere. Instead, we tend to perceive the sky as flattened overhead and extended outward toward the horizon. The horizon feels far away, farther than the dome directly above us. When the moon is high in the sky, it appears to exist within that dome. There are no nearby objects to anchor its scale. It floats alone against empty space. Without context, your brain assigns it a size based purely on its angular width, and it seems modest. But when the moon sits near the horizon, it shares space with familiar objects: trees, rooftops, mountains, towers. These objects provide depth cues. They signal distance. They create a layered visual scene in which the moon appears embedded in the landscape rather than detached from it. This triggers a perceptual recalibration. If the moon appears farther away, positioned beyond hills and buildings, but maintains the same angular width in your field of vision, your brain concludes it must be physically larger. The scaling happens automatically. You do not choose it. You experience it. This process is closely related to the Ponzo illusion, in which identical objects placed along converging lines appear different in size. Railroad tracks narrowing into the distance create a sense of depth. An object positioned farther up the tracks appears larger because the brain compensates for perceived distance. The horizon functions like those converging lines. It signals spatial recession. The moon, placed against that cue, is interpreted as enormous. But the illusion is more complex than a single theory. Some researchers argue that apparent distance theory alone does not fully explain the effect. Other contributing factors may include relative size contrast and angular perception bias. When the moon is near the horizon, it occupies the same visual field as terrestrial objects that are usually small in comparison: distant buildings, faraway trees. The juxtaposition enhances its perceived scale. When it rises higher, it occupies empty sky, and its scale becomes harder to judge. There is also a phenomenon known as size contrast theory. When the moon is high overhead, it is surrounded by vast, empty sky. That emptiness makes it appear smaller by comparison. Near the horizon, it competes visually with smaller foreground objects, which exaggerates its perceived size. The illusion weakens when those contextual cues are removed. If you look at the horizon moon through a narrow tube that blocks out surrounding scenery, it shrinks perceptually. If you bend over and look at it upside down between your legs, disrupting spatial interpretation, it often appears smaller. These tricks do not change the moon. They change your frame of reference. The illusion reveals something fundamental about perception. Vision is constructive. Your brain does not passively record what your eyes receive. It interprets incoming signals based on assumptions about space, depth, and scale. And those assumptions evolved for survival on Earth's surface, not for interpreting celestial geometry. For early humans, judging the size of animals across open plains or the distance of trees at the horizon was critical. The brain developed powerful mechanisms to translate angular size into physical size using contextual clues. That system works exceptionally well in landscapes. But the moon is not embedded in the landscape. It only appears to be when it touches the horizon. So the brain misapplies terrestrial scaling rules to an astronomical object. There is also an emotional dimension. The horizon represents grounded space, the boundary between Earth and sky. When the moon rises through that boundary, it feels integrated into our environment. It feels present, tangible, massive. When it climbs higher, it feels abstract, remote, detached from the world of buildings and terrain. Interestingly, photographs often fail to capture the dramatic effect. You may remember the moon as gigantic, only to find it look small and unimpressive in your image. That discrepancy exists because a camera captures angular size faithfully. It does not apply perceptual scaling. Your memory preserves experience, not measurement. There is a subtle irony in all this. The moon's actual size variation over time, the difference between perigee and apogee, can be noticeable, especially during a so-called supermoon. But the difference is only about 14% in apparent diameter between extremes. The horizon illusion can feel far more dramatic than that. Yet it happens every month, regardless of orbital position. The moon's average distance from Earth is approximately 384,400 kilometers. When it is on the horizon, it is only about 1 Earth radius farther away from you than when it is overhead. That difference, around 6,371 kilometers, is trivial compared to the total distance. The size difference that distance creates is less than 2%. Too small to account for the grandeur your eyes insist upon. And so the moon illusion becomes something deeper than a curiosity. It becomes evidence of how strongly context shapes reality. You do not experience the moon as a geometric fact. You experience it as a relational object, scaled against trees, buildings, mountains, and expectations. The horizon moon feels huge because your mind insists that something so distant, so far beyond the landscape, must be immense. And so it becomes immense within perception. Nothing in orbit shifts. Nothing in physics bends to dramatize the moment. But inside your visual cortex, calculations unfold. Depth cues are interpreted. Scale is inferred. Size is amplified. The moon rises unchanged, but your experience of it transforms completely. It is not orbit, is not gravity, is not atmospheric magnification, is the architecture of perception itself. A reminder that even when we look at the most familiar object in the night sky, we are not seeing pure astronomy. We are seeing astronomy filtered through a brain built for Earth. The moon appears enormous on the horizon not because it has grown, but because your mind has.